Hey everybody, I'm your man Dennis Pitzenberger here, SEMA 2018 inside the OPGI booth with my man Tom. And you know what? You guys took on a crazy project, a Corvair. Now I will not go into I call it a madness, and I want to go back in time, Terminator style, and take out Ralph Nader before he's ever born because he killed a great car before it ever had a chance to take off. But Tom, talk about this cool project and what you guys are doing with this cool segment.
Well, we just took it apart. It was the company's choice to have this for the new product line, and it was a challenge. Throughout the start of the reassembly was really identifying and getting in our hands the right parts to use in the right sequence. It was difficult to keep them matched up, even though we were the ones that took the car apart. But we had new parts come in to replace old. It's all original parts. It was just really a good challenge, but that's why I accepted the project.
What was your favorite part? I hear some guys when they're builders, they like to see it in its raw form. Some like to see it roll out of the garage. What was it for you?
All of it in a lot of different aspects. I did the wire loom sitting on a bench when the car was gone. Tested every single wire, cleaned every connection, and rewrapped it. That was a very good part. And I liked all the assembly work. I liked the fine detail and putting everything back together, making the adjustments, fitting it.
Well, you know what? There's also a guy who's involved with the engine. Should we talk to Doug and see what he does?
Sure.
And through the magic of editing here, he has Doug, the engine guy, in this project. You know, Doug, one of the things I love about this car that you brought out to SEMA is the fact it doesn't have an LS in it. A tried and true flat with a turbo on it. Talk about the build and what it was like putting together an engine that a lot of people, I don't know if they've forgotten about it or just didn't realize how far ahead of its time it was back in the day, but it's a very cool project.
A lot of people laughed at me. You're going to do what? But that was one of my first cars, was a 62 Turbo Spyder. And I had fun with it. This was fun too. The worst part, waiting on parts. That was the main thing. Other than that, I loved it.
Now, Doug, the thing I got to ask, I'm sure that you've walked into a machine shop 100 times, 1,000 times, maybe 10,000 times. What was the look on the machine shop's face when you walked in with that block and heads and said, hey, man, I need this thing done?
I think they laughed. You know, they're not used to it. Nobody is used to using or really doing a Corvair. And so you're kind of hit and miss.
You know, one of the things that makes a Corvair so special is the fact the powertrain was in the back. It was so far ahead of its time and its day. You know, you said it was one of your first cars. What makes this car special to you?
I think it's the turbo setup. It's not really sophisticated, but yet it's good and tidy and neat.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we bring in the overall guy, Jeff, to talk about the project as a whole? Sound good to you?
Yeah, sounds good.
Well, we had to bring in Jeff, the project manager on this. You know, it's got to be exciting to have really what is the OPGI family involved in this, and what a cool project. As the guy who oversaw the entire project, what was your biggest hurdles and your favorite parts of this build?
You know, the biggest hurdle for me was just chasing down all the parts that we needed and making sure they were here on time, making sure that things were done correctly and that we were meeting our timelines to make sure we made it to the show.
It came out beautifully, but there was a point where you wanted to throw a grenade, pull the pin, and get out of Dodge.
You know, there was a couple times close to the end there where we had a few little hiccups that were out of our control, and it was frustrating, and that's the best word I can use for it.
Well, you know, the beauty of that is there's always the payoff, because no matter how much adversity comes with a build, in the end, you come up with something you have right here in the booth in SEMA. You got to be proud of this.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's, you know, this is the first car that we've restored in our facility. We were able to monitor the whole thing from start to finish. I mean, the car speaks for itself. It's got a lot of good parts on it. It's got a lot of love put into it, and it's a solid car.
You've got to be getting a great response from people here at SEMA. What's been the reaction that, man, now I can get some great OPGI parts for my Corvair?
It's been tremendous. We've been getting phone calls and emails and people on social media. They've been waiting for the catalog. It took us a little bit to get it out, but the catalog came out in the beginning of the year. It's been a great response. People are excited to see what we have to offer and be able to buy parts from us. They know they're going to get a top quality part.
All right, Jeff, you know what? Incredible build. It looks great. Again, I can't say enough about thank goodness it doesn't have an LS stuffed in the back of it. That's just me. But you know what? If people want that new catalog, get their hands on those Corvair restoration parts, get a hold of OPGI. Where do they go? Where do we send them?
You're going to send them to opgi.com, or you're going to call our 800 number, which is 800-243-8355.
Get your hands on a catalog that quick?
Absolutely. We'll mail one right out to you, or you can look at the parts directly on the website.
There you go. You heard him. OPGI.com. This is Power Automedia SEMA 2018.